Hello, welcome to Beyond Science. Today we're going to be talking about the different stages of the menstrual cycle. The menstrual cycle is a process that happens in the female reproductive system. It begins during puberty. The average age for the menstrual cycle to start is around 12 years old, but it can happen earlier and it can happen later. People who experience the menstrual cycle will do so throughout their life until they reach the next stage of their life called the menopause. This can happen at 45 to 55, or it can happen earlier. This is when the body stops menstruating and periods no longer happen. Let's start by reviewing the different parts of the female reproductive system. Let's see how many you can remember. The oviduct, the uterus lining, the vagina, uterus, ovary, and cervix. The menstrual cycle involves the building up of the uterus lining and the release of an egg from the ovary in preparation for fertilisation. The average length of the menstrual cycle is 28 days, but this can vary from person to person and from month to month. The menstrual cycle is measured from the first day of a person's period, menstruation, to the first day of the next period. Let's have a look at the stages of the menstrual cycle in more detail. Day 1 to 5. The lining of the uterus breaks down and passes out of the vagina. This is known as menstruation, or commonly called having a period. Day 5 to 14, an egg cell starts to mature in the ovary. On day 14, an egg cell is released from the ovary. This stage is known as ovulation. Between days 14 and 28, the egg cell travels along the oviduct towards the uterus. This uterus lining remains thick, awaiting the arrival of a fertilised egg cell. If fertilisation occurs during day 14 to 28, the fertilised egg cell implants in the uterus lining. The uterus lining remains thick and the menstrual cycle stops. If fertilisation hasn't occurred by day 28, the uterus lining begins to break down and this is shed. This is known as having your period, and the cycle will repeat again. This graph shows us how the thickness of the uterus lining changes during the menstrual cycle. Let's summarise. The average menstrual cycle lasts 28 days. Menstruation, a period, occurs from day 1 to around day 5. The uterus lining builds up in preparation for a fertilised egg cell. A mature egg cell is released from an ovary around day 14. This is known as ovulation. If no fertilised egg cell is implanted, the uterus lining begins to break down and the cycle starts all over again. The menstrual cycle begins during puberty and continues until the menopause. In this video, we have described the stages of the menstrual cycle. To see what you now understand about the menstrual cycle, you could try creating a storyboard and seeing what you can commit to paper.